Welcome back, friends, to the long-awaited, long-debated, whether it's ever going to come back or not, edition video of Starry Bandit Comics' every superhero movie ever, where I watched every superhero movie ever made and ranked them worst to first, and we're going 5 movies at a time as we go through this list. Now, what I say every time is that I watched every superhero movie ever. And what I'm here to tell you is that that is virtually true. That said, I made a little bit of a boo-boo when it came to numbering. So on my list, which I have the full list in order, we're going to be doing movies 173 to 169. I didn't include 3 movies. 3 movies that I should have had on this list from the very beginning. I am so sorry. 2 were just oversights by me. They're movies I'd already seen, and I just forgot to put them on this list. Those movies, just so you know, are 1, Jonah Hex, starring Josh Brolin, and 2, Joker, Folia Adu. Now, both of those are now on this list in the correct place. Since this kind of hiatus that I've had recently from recording these videos in particular, was also another movie that came to me from one of my 14-year-old son's best friends, who told me that their favorite superhero movie ever was the movie Spaghetti Man, a not super widely seen movie, independent, low budget, but on Amazon Prime currently. And after I looked it up, because I thought that I'd looked it up before, to be honest, when I looked it up, I found that indeed it did have a theatrical release. Small, but a theatrical release in independent movie theaters across the country, and had its own kind of following here. So I had to add to the list. Now, in addition to those 3 movies that I missed, time's going by, new movies come out. There's a few movies that either have come out or about to come out. There's the new Masters of the Universe, there is Supergirl, and Spider-Man: A Brand New Day. So, you might be asking, what are you going to do, Bandit? How are you going to add those to this list? Well, I tell you, I hadn't really decided up until recently. Because I have to add in these other 3 movies, and I'm not going to go renumber and confuse everybody on these videos, is I will be adding letters, okay? So, for example, let's just say one of these movies, Spaghetti Man, is number 170 on the new list. Really what it would mean is there's a 169A and a 169B, and B is behind the A. Hopefully that's not too confusing for everybody. I'll explain when these things come up. In this 5-pack of movies in this video that you're about to watch, there's no letters. It's all straight numbers, the list as it was before these new additions. But I will be seeing these new movies. I will add them in as we go. I am definitely not anticipating it taking me so long to the next 5-pack of movies from now until then. So hopefully we don't have too many movies to add in. But you know what? The more the merrier. I'm not going to complain. More superhero movies is never a bad thing, if you ask me. So, without further ado, let's get to this 5-pack of movies, 173 to 169. Also, I have good news to share with you about this little hiatus that I took. I kind of decided to reformat these videos a little bit, give it a little bit more structure. I enjoyed what I did with the first videos for this series, but I felt like we could have it a little tighter. So as you'll see in these videos, we have 4 sections for each movie. We have cast, crew, plot, and review. So we go through the cast first, then the crew, people who made the movie behind the scenes, the plot of the actual movie, and then what I thought about the movie. So hopefully you'll enjoy this new kind of tighter, formatted video, and I hope you enjoy. And first up for this 5-pack is number 173, Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger 4, from the year 2000. Alright, so Citizen Toxie, Toxic Avenger 4. This is the first of 5 Toxic Avenger movies that are on this list. I.e. the worst Toxic Avenger movie, if you ask me. Now, Toxic Avenger comes from Troma Entertainment Studios. Now, I definitely have to give you some background on Troma Entertainment. Now, it was founded by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz in 1974. It makes it now 52 years old, which is old enough to be going through its own midlife crisis. But in that time, it's become the longest independent movie studio in the world. They've had at least 180 movies listed on their website made in-house. These are low-budget movies, B movies, and in some cases, C and D movies. Now, these movies all just tend to push boundaries. They violate countless societal norms. These movies stomp all over any topic that could lead to a trigger warning today. Now, my superhero list has 6 total Troma Studio movies. Their movies led to the first work or early work from many very famous people, including Oliver Stone, Kevin Costner, J.J. Abrams, James Gunn, Billy Bob Thornton, Samuel L. Jackson, Vincent D'Onofrio, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, Michael Jai White, and Vanna White herself. They also created a central location where many of their movies take place, including this movie, called Tromaville, in New Jersey, a place no one would want to call home. Alright, so first we have to talk about the cast, but I have to give you a very brief synopsis of primarily our main character, the Toxic Avenger, Toxie. Now, I'll go into his origin story and everything much more in detail when we get to the first movie later on this list. Now, Toxie is a boy, teenager, named Melvin, not very cool, pretty nerdy. To be honest, very possibly with some sort of, I don't want to say developmental disorder, but like, there's something going on with poor Melvin. He is ruthlessly bullied by the cool kids. Long story short, Melvin ends up in a vat of toxic goo in a canister and turns him into the Toxic Avenger. Now, he is basically made up of sludge, sewage, toxins, whatever. He's extremely strong. His skin is hot to the touch and can melt things at some points. Other times, it seems like that isn't really a factor when people come into contact with him. He is a very sweet guy who just wants to help people. And sees really kind of the best of people in the world, even though Tromaville, in particular, seems to populate itself with some pretty nefarious characters who are not quite in the same moral realm as Toxie. Now, this movie is Citizen Toxie, Toxic Avenger 4, and we're going to go in some different directions with that. So in this movie, Toxie is played by David Matty, who also plays the Noxious Offender. Claire is played by Heidi Searson, and Sergeant Kabuki Man is played by Paul Kermsey. Now, there are some pretty crazy cameos in this movie. First of all, Stan Lee is the narrator. Stan the man. Stan Lee himself is the narrator for this movie. It's the year 2000. Listen, we knew Stan for a long time. He's Stan the man already at that point, and he does the narration for this movie. Actually showing themselves in the movie are other people like Corey Feldman, James Gunn, Kevin Eastman, Eli Roth, Lemmy, Hugh Hefner.
So it turns out Hugh Hefner was in a cameo as the President of the United States in this movie, but his lawyer sent a cease and desist letter to remove all traces of him from the movie. Maybe after they watched it.
The Sklar brothers, Ron Jeremy, and someone named Hank the Angry Drunken Wolf. Alright, next up, the crew for Citizen Toxie, Toxic Avenger 4. First off, Lloyd Kaufman, co-creator of Troma Studios, has directed over 20 movies himself and has written about 25 movies in addition. Michael Hertz, the other founder of Troma Studios, with Kaufman, is given producer credit in this movie. Something I do think is pretty cool about these movies is how they use crew members as actors in the movie. I'm sure at least it's in part due to the budget, but it is pretty cool to give them some front-facing roles. Alright, what's this movie about? First off, let me tell you, this movie was made 11 years after the last one, and seemed to think that it needs to kind of triple down on all the outrageous boundary pushing that the first one did. It starts off with a very graphic special needs classroom scene with basically a gang attacking them and doing, let's just say, not nice things to all of them, including the teacher. Really sets the mood. From there, we basically get a parallel universe situation where Toxie ends up in an alternate Tromaville. And the noxious offender, his counterpart in that world, ends up in our Tromaville. Now, the noxious offender is wrecking Toxie's reputation, just doing awful things across the board. It's honestly not a bad premise, especially if you want to show heinous shite like they apparently wanted to do in this movie, but the execution leaves much to be desired. Boy, gotta tell you, this was a pretty rough one. It's a rough watch. They recast Toxie and swapped Claire for Sarah, also recasting Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD, and I like all of them much less than the originals. They must have decided that Toxic Avenger 3 was much too tame for their liking, and just ratcheted up the explicit outrageousness way up. It's maybe the most ridiculous from a trigger warning topics approach than any other Troma movie I've watched so far. So honestly, the plotline for this movie was okay. About basically Bizarro Toxie, his counterpart, and a natural evolution to have him hate himself, fight himself. I just didn't like this one. I think a big reason for that was I did not like the new acting crew. I do have to say, Stan Lee being the narrator was a major get and definitely brought a smile to my face whenever I'd hear him in the movie. It's not a ton overlaid in just parts of the movie, but it was really fun. So ultimately, Citizen Toxie, Toxic Avenger 4 from the year 2000. Was given 1.5 stars by my rating. It's the last 1.5 star movie on this list, and it marks number 173. On the Every Superhero Movie Ever.
Every superhero movie ever assemble.
Alright, next up on our Every Superhero Movie Ever list is number 172. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows, 2016. Now, it's well documented in my videos that I have been a huge Ninja Turtles fan nearly since I was born, to the point that I wanted to be a turtle. And movie number 172 is the sequel to the first Ninja Turtles movie to come out, where I was out from the first trailer. They just looked so stupid. So that movie has yet to obviously be on this list, but here is the not well recommended sequel. So who do you think of first when you think of the Ninja Turtles? Mikey, Raph, hell no, April O'Neil. And what if we just pay whoever the literal hottest actress and the hottest box office draw is and just put her in the movie? We make sure to objectify her body as often as possible, including putting her into a schoolgirl outfit to disguise herself. You know, for the kids. Anyway, so of course, Megan Fox returns as April. Now in these movies, our main characters, the Turtles, are basically techno-roided out CGI monsters. Alright, so as far as voice actors, first we get the misogynistic Air Force officer that you probably don't remember from Captain Marvel, That's Pete Plaschek, who plays Leo. The 78th credited actor on Letterboxd for Catch Me If You Can, Jeremy Howard, playing Donatello. The 1500-year-old vampire Vladimir from Twilight Breaking Dawn, playing Michelangelo, and Alan Ritchson as Raphael. Obviously, I'm being a little facetious because all that matters is whether the voice actors have the right voice for the part and are good at voice acting. I don't really have any complaints about that in this movie from their voices, but it's just so hard to get over how weird the turtles look to me in these movies. The best casting to me is Stephen Amell as Casey Jones in this movie, even though I don't really like the character choices that they force on him. Will Arnett is our horny cameraman. Laura Linney, yes, that Laura Linney, is the skeptical, turtle-phobic turned Chelonian enthusiast.
Everyone's been a little stunned that I'm doing this. I thought it would just be fun.
Yes, police chief. And Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman. On the villain front, we get a truly bonkers-looking Krang, voiced by everyone's favorite baritone actor, Brad Garrett, and equally cringe-looking and acting Bebop and Rocksteady are played by Stevie's dad, Malcolm in the Middle, Gary Anthony Williams, and WWE wrestler Sheamus. So, I have to tell you, I misremembered this, and Michael Bay's name is not actually in the director's spot here. It doesn't splash across the screen, but you could watch this for 2 minutes as the camera lustily follows Megan Fox to know that he directed this movie. Or not, supposedly Dave Green, a music video director, made this movie, though he doesn't have a major credit since then, until actually Acme vs. Coyote finally comes out later this year. Big action set pieces, tilted camera angles, vivid coloring. We know who directed this movie, and let's just say his name rhymes with Cycle Day. I guess maybe we just have a wannabe? I don't know, but this is clearly a Michael Bay film. Okay, our plot. So Tyler Perry, as Baxter Stockman, uses his teleportation invention to try to break Shredder out of prison. Spoiler alert for the first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie. In doing so, he accidentally tears a hole from our dimension to Dimension X, where Shredder finds Krang in his Krang suit. They hatch a scheme to bring the Technodrome to Earth, which, by the way, I used to play with for hours as a kid. That Technodrome toy was amazing. At the same time, our turtle monstrosities have to decide whether to take the mutagen that can reverse their mutations. It's part of the eternal debate among our turtle heroes about whether there is any reason to keep being heroes and helping people when they have to hide in the sewer without any appreciation or acknowledgement or even being able to enjoy the spoils of their victories. So one more thing I do have to tell you about this movie is about Casey Jones, Stephen Amell's character, shoehorned so hard into this movie, I think they could get me into a size 6 loafer. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses. How's the pastrami? It's probably no surprise at this point in the video that this was not my favorite movie. And as a lifelong Ninja Turtles fan, just, ugh. I really wish Michael Bay had never touched these turtles. Let's keep slow pans up Megan Fox with the Transformers franchise. This movie is our first 2-star movie, and it is number 172 on our Every Superhero Movie Ever list.
Every superhero movie ever assemble.
So if I asked you to guess the movie, and I told you I was talking about an indie comic classic, in high contrast black and white, stylized violence, and somehow a cartoon, but not a cartoon, with gritty narrative noir stylings, nope, you'd be wrong. Not Sin City. This is The Spirit, directed by Frank Miller. Yes, that Frank Miller. So, not surprisingly, considering the Sin City movie's cast, we have a bevy of name actors in this movie. Though our title character, the Spirit, is only a big name if you're into suits. Gabriel Macht, he definitely leaves a bit to be desired in this movie, if you ask me, from a charisma standpoint. I wonder if he maybe just didn't really have a feel for the character or tone. I don't know, I never watched Suits, but is he like Wish.com Jason Segel? The stars in this movie consist of Ava Mendes, Samuel L. Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, Sarah Paulson, Paz Vega, and the dad from the Wonder Years. Not maybe as highly a star-studded cast as Sin City, but also, this movie is not Sin City. So as I mentioned, Frank Miller directed and wrote this movie, as he had also co-directed his own adaptations of his material in Sin City and SimCity: A Game to Kill For, co-directed with superhero movie Pariah, Robert Rodriguez. Now I want to take this opportunity to tell you that those two movies, the Sin City movies, are not on this list. Though they are obviously graphic novels / comic books, they're not superhero movies per se. That said, obviously Frank Miller is a comic book icon who made truly fantastic, stylized versions of his Sin City stories that felt like you were watching a comic book unfold as you watched those movies. For this movie, he relies on the style completely and virtually no substance. That said, cinematographer on the two Sin City movies were credited as Robert Rodriguez, which is interesting, because here Bill Pope gets a nod for this cinematography-heavy movie, who's no slouch, by the way, having previously worked on movies like The Matrix, Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, and Spider-Man 2. Also, a personal favorite of mine, Alita Battle Angel. I would say that this movie could easily feel like a karaoke version of the style in Sin City, and I think that it manages to use the style without it feeling like a minor league version. One other crew note is that Gregory Nussbaum is the editor credited on this movie, and he had never edited a movie before, and I can't say that I'm surprised about that. Nor am I surprised that he only ever edited 2 other movies after this one, neither of which you've probably heard of. Okay, so who is the Spirit? He's a police officer named Denny Colt, who is killed by a crime boss, played by Samuel L. Jackson, comes back to life for some reason, and fights crime with superpowers, like rapid healing, also having the normal enhanced fighting ability that many other superheroes just have. Other than that, the plot is easily the least thought about aspect of this movie, where Jackson's character wants to obtain an artifact that'll give him immortality, but also he and Scarlett Johansson are Nazis. You don't really need any more information than that, to be honest. There isn't a lot going on in this movie. Now, interestingly, the character of the Spirit actually comes from 1940s pulp noir comics, books, created by Will Eisner, and in those stories, he had no superpowers, so it is kind of interesting that this is an adaptation of that into this movie, but they do give him some, like, supernatural type of things. Now, the Spirit, he's been in and out of comics since the 40s, so tons of stories. To be honest, I've never really read a Spirit story, but a lot of you comic book aficionados will probably have some pretty basic idea about who the Spirit is. And my guess is, if you have read a lot more of those books, you're probably even more upset at this adaptation and portrayal of the character. Again, probably not very surprising, but this is not a very good movie. It's kind of interesting to look at, but as I keep alluding to, it's just style over substance, and there just isn't enough movie here. There are some hammy performances, but ultimately the movie is kind of just boring. Should the Spirit have been recast by, say, I don't know, Chris Evans or Colin Farrell or something? It might have been, could have brought something to the role here. I think that Frank Miller bit off just a little bit too much on this one, and didn't have the same team working with him, and this was the last movie he directed. So I'll give 2 stars this movie, primarily just for the visual flair, but another movie that I just kinda can't recommend you watching.
Every superhero movie ever assemble.
Personally, I'm more of a MacGruber guy than a MacGyver guy. But if you have tweezers, 2 used lollipop sticks,
The
and...
Guyver, idiot!
What was that?
The Guyver!
Oh, of course! This is Guyver Dark Hero in the number 170 spot. Now, this is a sequel to the 1991 Guyver film that we haven't yet talked about. But let's just say you're going to hear about that movie very soon. The Guyver suit is an alien bioweapon that connects to a human and turns them, more or less, into a body horror version of a Power Ranger. These movies are actually an adaptation of the manga series, Bio Booster Armor Guyver. But we'll get into that more later. Let's first get into the particulars. Now, our main character, whose name is Sean Barker, he possesses the Guyver suit. He's played in this movie by David Hayter, whose acting credits consist mostly of additional voices roles and background characters. However, David Hayter has some huge contributions under his belt to the entire superhero movie genre, because he is the writer of X-Men, X2, and Watchmen. Now, he also wrote The Scorpion King with The Rock, but obviously we can't win them all. The Scorpion King does play a major role, though, in the Starry Bandit's origin story, because going to see that movie was the awkward setting of my first date, where I embarrassed myself in so many ways, but, you know, that story will have to stay for Starry Bandit Comics. Every embarrassing personal moment ever counted. Anywho, David Hayter, guys. Come on, crazy. Our love interest in this movie is played by Kathy Christopherson, whose last name kind of sounds like Winchesterton Fieldville, Iowa, the birthplace of Babe Bennett from Mr. Deeds. Miss Christopherson Shireberger's most significant acting credit is Executive Target, a 1997 film starring Michael Madsen, Keith David, Roy Scheider, and Angie Everhart, which sounds great, but I need to sign up for a streaming service called Howdy just to watch it right now, apparently. I'll wait and find it on DVD at a flea market. And that's kind of the extent of the known cast. This is odd. Most of the rest of these pictureless actors on Letterboxd have one credit or no other credits in this movie. Watching the movie, it seems less odd. For example, Bruno Gianotta, aka Bruno Patrick, is the villain of the movie, and his only other movie on Letterboxd is being the 31st credit on an Italian movie called Non C'è Campo. So the heart and soul of these American adaptations of the Guyver manga series is Steve Wang, our director, writer, producer, and editor on this movie. In the first movie, Wang was listed as co-director with none of those other additional roles. So in researching these Guyver movies, I did stumble upon a YouTube account, the Guyver Geek, who is most likely the #1 fan of these movies in the whole world. I definitely gained a lot of insight watching some portions of his interviews with cast and crew from the movies, and he's a really good interviewer, by the way, to be honest. Anywho, in the Guyver Geeks interview with Steve Wang, they talked about how this sequel was an apology that Wang felt like he had to make because of the first movie. He thought that the first one wasn't a true Guyver movie for fans of the character and the manga, and they also talk about the budget for this movie shrinking from $1.5 million to $800,000 at the last minute, which I'm sure couldn't have helped things. From that interview and some other research, it seems like Wang really made his career by creating creatures and makeup art, which I have to say, the creatures and costumes in these movies are high quality and primarily all practical. If you have or haven't seen these movies, I have to recommend this YouTube channel for all the rest of us nerds who are interested in the making of movies, and especially if you like the Guyver. There are efforts I saw to crowdfund a new movie, a new Guyver movie, the third movie as well, bringing back some of the characters and actors. Okay, so what's this movie about, you ask? Well, let me spoil the original a little, just by telling you that the Guyver is an alien bioweapon that attaches itself to a human, embeds itself within, and gives the user super strength, healing, regeneration, it's bulletproof, and possesses energy weapons, and it can operate even on its own without the host needed, while the host inside, but if they're knocked out or something. It's basically the strongest suit you can imagine. To give you enough of the movie's plot, I'll give you a few details in this section that would be considered spoilers, so jump ahead if you don't want to hear them. This second movie's plot begins with our recasted hero, Sean Barker, having visions or dreams that lead him with his significant other Corey to the site where an archaeologic dig is being done by the evil Kronos Corporation from the first movie. Now, they've unveiled an alien ship in the ground that they're trying to access. So the factions in this series are the Kronos Corporation, Zoonoids, who are evil aliens, and then there's people on the Guyver side. So in the movie, Sean gets to the site and with his Guyver suit is able to access and enter the ship that's in the ground because his suit's connection. And then he learned that the suit was created by another ancient alien race called the Creators that landed on Earth and also created humans. And we learned that Zoonoids are actually humans who are biologically engineered and become aggressive with motivation to obtain the suit, take it back from Sean. And I'll leave it there and watch the rest of the movie. After watching this movie, it really does feel like an episode of a show on like the USA Channel in 1994 at times. The lack of budget is apparent, but the practical effects with the suit and the martial arts of the film is pretty decent. That said, it's not super entertaining. It's fairly predictable, and the acting leaves a lot to be desired. It's definitely on the fun, bad movie list, so I wouldn't go run to watch this movie, but would probably be fun to watch with a few friends, and, from an unintentional comedy approach, or intentional, could be a little entertaining. This movie is 2 stars, and it's number 170 on our Every Superhero Movie Ever list.
Every superhero movie ever assemble.
Surprise! That's right, the OG Guyver movie is number 169 on our list, right before its sequel. So by now you've heard about the second movie. Now you get to hear about the first movie that the director of the second movie felt like they had to apologize for. So, as discussed in the previous video, the continuing roles in this sequel were recast from this movie. Our hero, Sean Barker, is played by Jack Armstrong. Taking a look at Armstrong's IMDb page shows that his career mostly has consisted of an episode or so of nearly every cable rerun you've probably never watched, like Bones, How to Get Away with Murder, Leverage, Alf, Timeless, which is a very fun sci-fi lore type show that unfortunately got canceled, Quantum Leap, love it, Scandal, and basically every long-running soap opera there is. The real draw of this movie is Luke freaking Skywalker. That's right, Mark Hamill is in this movie. Now, Mark plays CIA agent Max Reed, who's running around Los Angeles, operating independently to follow up on the strange happenings related to Kronos and the Guyver unit and the conspiratorial corporation. He's pretty great as always, and here he's at his campy best, most notably with a real dad mustache. I have to say, it is kind of weird seeing younger Mark Hamill and it not being Star Wars. It's only 8 years after Return of the Jedi, of course, so even 40-year-old Mark Hamill feels like young Mark Hamill to me, mustache or not. So Vivian Wu plays Mizuki Sagawa, Sean Barker's girlfriend, whose father was a researcher involved in the whole Guyver suit Kronos Corporation plot, who stole and released the Guyver suit, and then he was killed for it, leading all of our characters to kind of coalesce. Now, Wu has a number of credits for both American and Chinese movies, but she's best known for this audience as Michelangelo's love interest in feudal Japan in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Classic! Our main villain is the evil Kronos Corporation overlord, Fulton Balkus, played by British character actor David Gale. Unless you've watched Reanimator or Bride of the Reanimator, you may not have ever seen him before. But filling in the rest of the cast are Jimmy Dynamite Walker from Good Times, and That Guy Hall of Famer Michael Berryman as the lead henchman. He's best known from The Hills Have Eyes, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Star Trek, and basically a mutant something or other in many, many other movies and TV shows. Now, if you watched the previous video on the sequel to this movie, you'll know that Steve Wang co-directed this movie too. His co-director, who started initial work on the film, was Joji Tani, better known as Screaming Mad George. In fact, on Letterboxd, his name is Screaming Mad George. He's a special effects artist, makeup guy, who's known for out there, gory special effects, including on Predator, several Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and a lot of other B-type movies from the 80s and 90s. So when you put these two guys together, they match the hardcore practical effects with Wang's martial arts prowess. Now, in Wang's interview on the Guyver Geeks YouTube video, which I recommend, Wang says that they had a very little overlap in their work on this movie, kind of taking different roles for the different parts of the movie. When taking a broad overview of the crew, nearly everyone on the list had barely any other big Hollywood work, consisting primarily of B-type movies or worse, except when it came to the two credited stunt people, Merritt Yonka and Dennis Madalone. Between the two of them are stunt credits such as Captain America, Pulp Fiction, Army of Darkness, Minority Report, American History X, Gone in 60 Seconds, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I think it's clear from who was tagged to make this movie about what the goal was. Full-on, campy action. Now, as I've referenced already, the Guyver comes from a manga series that is pretty dark and violent. The way that this movie came about was similar to how the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show came to the United States. A joint production between Bandai and, in this case, Shochiku Films, who wanted to make a Hollywood-style film that would appeal to Western audiences. So, they add Luke Skywalker, intentional and unintentional comedy, campiness, and strong special effects and action. Because of that, the plot is both unnecessarily complicated and pretty stock and simple. Alien weapon being tracked by both evil corporate entity henchmen and camels outside the law tracking from the CIA, then the call to action coming for our protagonist Sean Barker when he accidentally acquires the Guyver suit. We get the classic initial testing of the suit's capabilities, only to lose a battle to the Zoanoid henchman when he can't operate the suit fully yet. There, he gets captured, there's action in the lab, and I won't spoil the ending, but it's pretty predictable from a movie standpoint if you've seen any kind of similar type stories. So, ultimately, just like the sequel, it's not a great movie. When I had to rank them, they felt like two very disparate movies. However, the flavor that I enjoyed more was this lighter, campy version with Mark Hamill than the Walker Texas Ranger Renegade, if you know, you know, feel of the second movie. Plus, just one has Mark Hamill and one doesn't. Also, I kind of just like the cast more in this movie than in the second. So overall, 2 stars for this movie as well. And that closes out this 5-pack of movies, rounding out number 169, Guyver, 1991.